Hello, I'm Larry Voppel. I'm the Tourism Management Director for the City of Big Bear Lake, and I'd like to present the 2021 Tourism Management Annual Report. This report will discuss the amount of visitation that we had during 2021 with some comparisons to previous years. And then I'll also get into the compliance reporting for 2021, basically an update on the vacation rental program and where we stand at the end of 2021. As we look at the visitation level during 2021 and compare that to previous years, it's important to keep some definitions in mind. First, we're talking about visitor days and not unique visitors. And the difference is a unique visitor may come up and spend 3 days. That counts as 3 visitor days. So what we really want to know is how many days visitors are visiting the City of Big Bear Lake. And so that's why we use visitor days. Another thing is, how do we define a visitor? A visitor is somebody who originates their trip more than 15 miles from the center of the City of Big Bear Lake. And then, so that could include second homeowners. It does include second homeowners who come up. Maybe they live in Costa Mesa and they come up for a week, and they originated more than 15 miles away. They stayed a week, and if there was a husband and wife and they stayed 5 days, that would be 5 visitor days each, or 10 visitor days total by that couple. And this also includes day visitors as well as overnight visitors. And the data source is a group called Datafy, and they use geofencing around the city and around major attractions, and use mobile phone data to gather these numbers. All right, so as we look at 2021 compared to the 2 previous years, you can see 2020 was definitely, by most people's accounts, the record year of number of visitors and visitor days in our city. 2021 was definitely down from that, and you can see still a bit more than 2019. If you break that down throughout the year, kind of what that looks like, again, many people know this anecdotally, that we have these shoulder seasons, and you can see that beginning in March, April through May, and then picking back up June, July, August, September with activities at the lake, and then again shoulder seasons September, October, November, and then bumping back up for the ski season. This graph depicts those numbers with monthly totals, so you can see the lines a little more clearly, and you can see the red being 2020, the drop off in April with the COVID, and then basically once those restrictions were lifted, a very, very busy summer, and it continued into the fall as well. Again, this graph doesn't probably surprise anybody that we are a Friday through Sunday destination. Many visitors come just for the weekend, but we do have many that come and spend the entire week. Again, that could include second homeowners. So when the visitors come, where do they like to go? These are the top 6 destinations, and these are listed in order of visitor days. And by far the number 1 is the Village area. That attracts over 1.7 million visitor days per year. The shops, the restaurants, the bars, heavily dependent upon visitor days for their success. That Village number exceeds both of the ski resorts combined, and it also outnumbers the grocery centers. If you combine both Stater Brothers Center with the Vaughn Center, the Village exceeds that number as well. In the Summertime, the lake and the marinas, over 1.1 million visitor days spent at the lake and marinas, and then of course the trails and the parks. These were the top trails visited by our guests. Pine Knot Trail, by far #1, and I think that's because it's picking up maybe some winter traffic with the snow play in that area of Aspen Glen. But the Alpine Pedal Path, very popular as well. All told, over 1 million visitor days are spent on our trails. Let's look at the number of visitor days during the holiday season. So this, 2019 numbers are actually 2019/20 because it goes until the Sunday after New Year's Day, and the study period begins on the Friday before Christmas Eve. So in each of the 3 cases, it's 16 days. And you can see that 2019, because of the amount of snow we had, was actually more visitor days than 2020 and 2021. And again, with the COVID restrictions at the ski resorts, that kind of explains the 10% or so decline between 2021 and 2020, fewer visitors in 2020 because of the lower numbers allowed at the resorts. What do our visitors look like? And I thought it'd be interesting to share some demographics as far as age and income. You can see that we are starting to attract an older and more affluent visitor. You can see there that over 50% of our visitors, their household income is over $100,000. And the age, again, over 50% are older than 45. This is some additional visitor demographic information regarding education level, household size, and the race of our visitors. We will now discuss the vacation rental program and give an update in regards to compliance and licensing. So you can see that at the beginning of 2021, we had 2,304 licenses, and at the end of the year, we had 2,603. So that's an increase of almost 300 licenses during the calendar year, and that's a 13% increase. This slide breaks down the concerns into one of 4 dispositions. Either there was no violation observed by the officer, which is about 1/3 of all calls. That means that the officer arrives and they do not witness any violations. About 26% result in a citation. About 36% are given a verbal warning, and about 5% are issued a written warning. And we're often asked why we're giving verbal warnings instead of writing citations, and that is completely up to the officer's discretion, but we do have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to parties and amplified music, especially after 10 p.m. Then in those cases, they're pretty much getting a citation. Some of the verbal warnings come from, for example, guests arrive and they're unloading their vehicles, and maybe they're moving cars around and they've got one parked in the street, and we inform them that, hey, you can't park cars in the street, and they immediately comply by moving it into the driveway. We're not going to write a citation for something like that. This slide gives us the breakdown of the top concerns from residents in 2021. You can see by far the #1 complaint relates to noise, parties, or being in the spa after 10 p.m. and then followed by parking. And then this graph breaks down resident concerns throughout the year. So January, busy time of the year, and also more concerns. Also in January 11th, we passed the urgency ordinance, which We began strict enforcement of the new urgency ordinance that had stricter penalties, and really cracked down on the behavioral issues that we were plagued with in 2020. June, July, August, the windows are open, people are outside on the decks. So those months are going to generate the noise complaints, especially music that tends to carry up here in the mountains. And you can see the dotted line is the trend line, so we definitely are trending in the right direction. It's important to keep the number of resident concerns in perspective. And so one way we do that is we basically create a ratio of concerns per nights booked. So you can see, for example, the month of January, we had 255 concerns, but we had over 53,000 booked nights during that month. And so the percentage of booked nights that did not have a concern was 99.5%. And then we use the ratio of basically booked nights per reported concern, and the higher number in that last column, the better. And so you can see for 2021, we had over 457,000 booked nights throughout the year, vacation rentals, and 1,374 resident complaints. So that means 99.7% of our booked nights did not result in any resident complaint. And so on average, that's one concern for every 333 booked nights. And this graph just depicts that. Again, we are trending in the right direction. The higher number, the better in this graph, because that's the number of booked nights that you average before you get a resident complaint. How did that break down over the course of 2021? Well, we issued 335 citations for total fines exceeding $700,000, and we've collected about 44% of those. So many of the fines, folks do have the ability to appeal their citation, and so sometimes fines do get dismissed or reduced as part of that appeal process. And let's look at the transient occupancy tax revenue. Again, the blue bars are going to indicate the 2020, and then 2021 is going to be in the orange. And you can see that 2021 was a great year for TOT revenue. That's the tax that is charged to guests at vacation rentals and lodges. And so this includes lodges, hotels, everybody. But vacation rentals account for about 75% of all TOT revenues. And you can see a 26% increase year over year, mostly due to that first quarter of 2021, where we had a $1.8 million year over year increase. If you look at the available nights versus the booked nights in vacation rentals, you can see that the occupancy rate has come down significantly from 2020, and that's primarily due to the increase in supply. So the blue bars are indicating the supply, and the orange are indicating the demand. So demand pretty much stayed the same between 2020 and 2021. However, we saw a dramatic increase in supply. And that's because, again, we had more properties come online as vacation rentals. However, they were able to keep the average daily rate high. In fact, it increased about 22% year over year. One question we get asked quite a bit is how many full-time vacation rentals we have in our program. And well, we don't know that for sure because we don't ask that question as part of the registration process. These donut graphs here from data provided by AirDNA can shed some light on that. So you can see on the left, it's a donut graph that depicts the percentage of vacation rentals that are available for the various numbers of night throughout the year. So you can see, for example, the yellow, 42% of our vacation rentals are available for more than 271 nights out of the year. The graph on the right depicts the number of nights that are actually booked. And so only 3% of our vacation rentals are actually booked more than 271 nights out of the year, even though 42% of them are available. So you see that in the blue, 53% of our vacation rentals are booked fewer than 90 nights out of the year, and 83% of them, the vast majority, are booked fewer than 6 months out of the year. And that concludes the annual report for 2021. I hope you found this information helpful. Additional reports can be found on the tourism management page of the city's website. I encourage you to check those out. Thank you.